Stop compromising. What? Just because you want a small, compact, and secure base, you think you have to give up the luxuries? In order to keep the raiders out with a bunkered stronghold of a base, you probably have to spend all day farming just to barely have any room. What if I told you inside today's base, which costs less than 4 nodes a day, you can fit more than enough room for up to 3 players to easily move around with tons of storage, room for all of the benches, and an entire hidden electrical system powering turrets and much more. With no easy raid paths, no real weaknesses, today's base does it all for a fraction of the cost. In order to stress test this base design before recommending it to you, I blow the thing up. Stress testing builds allows me to make sure that they function well and that there's no major weaknesses. And of course, in order to test these designs, I need my own incredibly stable server, and that's why I recommend today's sponsor. With Pine Hosting, there has never been a better, more affordable option for server rentals. Whether it's to test builds, play with friends, or film cinematic masterpieces, the best option is renting a server with Pine Hosting. Not only do you get to choose from several server locations, but Pine comes with some incredibly useful additions. Between their incredibly unique AI system that helps you avoid problems before they ever become one, and an incredibly useful one-click plugin installer, you'll be able to customize the server to exactly what you need it to be. Using my link in the description and code REX at checkout, you'll save 30% on your very own server and be able to rent for as little as $8. Meaning not only do you get an amazing deal, but you get to help support the channel. Today, we're going to be building the perfect compact base, Solitude. Designed specifically with the solo in mind, this base can actually fit up to a trio fairly easily. Starting off with a footprint like this, we're then going to decide which way is going to be our front door, and everywhere else is going to get half walls all around it. Oh. You do want to leave your front door section without the half walls because we need full walls on both of these sides. Realistically, you can get away with it on just one side, but it's much easier if we do it on both. In front of here, we're going to place a triangle down below, which is going to function as our airlock. We are going to need to place 2 doorways in both of these spots, but that's going to help us a lot later. Go ahead and upgrade all of these and place full walls on these half walls. When all is said and done, you should have something looking like this, and then we're going to come and close off the front section. While some people, I can already see it, are going to be complaining that the half walls can add up a cost that ends up being just as much as a full wall, the utility that it provides in a base like this is worth it in my mind. Once you've got to this point, you're going to want to make sure you, of course, lock up your base, and then we can worry about in here. Now, there are ways to start this base off of just this 1x1 center. Using this 1x1, you can expand out and start building the rest of the base, though it can be a little tricky. Coming over here, we're going to place our TC like this in the corner, making sure to line it up straight with the back wall, and straight using this tile. We can then push it against the right. You'll need a little bit of wiggle room, and then push it against the right. And then we got a perfect spot right here for a bag. Placing this bag early is going to make sure that you have enough room for everything else. Go ahead and place a full large box right here by, again, making sure that it's lined up straight. And then we can get another one right here. Using this spot here, we can place a small box, as well as a campfire. Once all that's done, we can go ahead and place a shelf here. And this shelf is actually going to be for our workbenches. Now, you also will be placing another shelf right here at this half height, but I don't recommend doing that until you've got at least your tier 2 workbench. With your tier 2 workbench acquired, we can go ahead and place that there, and then you'd be able to put a small box underneath. Now, at this point, you could come outside and you could build the shelf system by placing a shelf here, a half wall, and then a shelf on top of that. You can at this point actually place it inside, although sometimes it doesn't like you doing that, and then destroy these. Going back inside, you'll have something like this. Now, my recommendation is, if you really want the shelf space early, to not upgrade beyond wood. That's because once you pick up this workbench and this box, you actually won't be able to place your tier 3 as long as this is here. For that reason, I personally recommend not placing that shelf at all until you've got your final workbench. Whether that be your tier 2 or your tier 3, it's just going to save you some hassle. For all of these spots in here, I highly recommend we go garage doors. That's because double doors don't quite cut it, and they're going to get a little irritating pretty fast. We're going to do the same thing over on this side. With this half wall facing out towards me here, we're then going to place a garage door above it. Whether you have your garage door open in or out is really up to you, though I do actually recommend having it open into the inside, which I didn't do here, because it's going to make the box placement a lot easier. Down here, we're going to place our mixing table. A mixing table has become basically a vital part of my life in Rust, as it can help reduce the amount of farming you have to do, plus help you craft things a lot faster. Using the mixing table to craft your gunpowder while you're crafting your meds can make raiding people as a solo a lot easier. Now in this spot here, you can either put another box into this spot here, assuming you've placed this properly against the wall, or up to 2 more bags for possible teammates. Ultimately, it'll depend on you what you're putting in here, whether you need more storage or you have other teammates. Right here, we're going to do the same thing we've done earlier, placing a half wall with it opening towards hard side over here. I recommend avoiding placing this garage door yet, because it is useful to have that shelf to get things placed later. With this closed in, we can put our furnaces down here, placing the 3 furnaces, which will also make it a lot easier to walk here so we don't have the option to fall in. Of course, underneath your tier 3, you can also put a small box. And then the reason we don't want the garage door yet here is to be able to build this shelf. Building this shelf is going to give us something to stand on while we place some boxes up here. While not vital, it can make things a lot easier getting these boxes placed. Starting off, we're going to place a box all the way to the back like so, and then we're going to place another one right here. Now you'll notice because of this door frame here, it can be a lot harder to get it in there, so you might need to move a little bit to the left or right. And then finally, you should be left with just enough room for a small box right here. Now this small box can get in the way of looting for that back box, so you might not want to have it, and it's really completely optional. You'll see even with the box placed so that it comes out a little bit, it doesn't actually go through the garage door. Now coming back to this respawn and cook room, we're going to need to actually go back outside. Coming back outside, we're again going to create a temporary shelf and place it through the wall, and then destroy these ones. Getting back inside, we've now got a shelf here, which we're going to do the same thing just about over there. Except this time, first we're going to place a large box like so, making sure to line up your crosshair if you've got it enabled with the tip of this triangle. We pull back until we can place the box. If done correctly, you can place another box here, and you have an optional small box slot right there. Now, of course, we still don't have the bunker on this base, and that's actually going to go right here. A couple things before building your bunker, I do recommend having shotgun traps available. For this style of bunker, shotgun traps are incredibly useful. Now before we go further, we do need to get our boxes placed down here, and we're going to be placing the 3 and 3 boxes. Lining ourselves up with the walls, we place this one snug here, which will give us just enough room for a box right here. And then finally, one more right here. Now you can place it on this side or this side. I actually prefer it right here, because I'm going to be opening my bunker on the right side here. Next, we're going to place the small box down here, another small box right here, and a small box here. Now, a lot of people who have issues with this style of bunker are going to have that issue because they had a half wall on this low side here. It's for this reason we need these walls to be full walls with the half walls on top instead. Next, we're going to place a roof piece right here and upgrade that, trapping us in. Now, if we've done the bunker correctly, we can place a floor frame right here and a roof triangle here. When we upgrade the roof triangle, it'll actually open up that roof piece, giving us access in and out of the bunker. Now at this point, you do want to acquire a shotgun trap. By placing a shotgun trap down here in a way that it angles up, we're going to want to place it as low as possible, but high enough that it would see somebody who jumped through. Basically, what'll happen is if somebody jumps through and you've angled it correctly, the shotgun trap will trigger, break this twig, and seal the bunker. If these garage doors were closed, that would leave them stuck right here with no option to go any further. While that can leave this area exposed, we can actually offset that ability by just adding a garage door right here. By adding that garage door, we have the added benefit of not having to close our bunker. Because if at this point someone decided that they wanted to raid us, when they shot the first rocket at this garage door, it would still break that twig. And as soon as they break that twig piece, it'll seal the bunker. At that point, this means they have no choice but to go through this. For that reason, I recommend upgrading these to metal as soon as possible. These should be some of your earliest metal upgrades, with of course your TC room and your second loot room being your other options. My personal opinion, this is what I would upgrade to metal in this base. These are your main weak points, and once everything's honeycombed behind this, the raid cost for this base gets pretty intense. Now obviously this is just still a fairly basic base and doesn't even feature any honeycombing. Now before we add the honeycombing into this base, which will consist entirely of just adding triangles all around, I recommend you get yourself a battery. Now if you're going to be hiding your battery in your honeycomb, it can also be useful to do the same with your solar panels. Now that's only going to be really effective if you've seen my other video in which I show you how to hide your solar panels inside of your honeycomb. Doing that's going to mean that nobody has the option to mess with any of your electrical generation and make the base a lot more secure overall. Of course, with a base like this, the less you give away, the less you've got to worry about. With the battery inside, we're going to place the root combiner in an area that's going to get sealed away. Now, of course, this does mean that if we run into issues with being raided later, it can be a lot harder to repair this kind of stuff. But honestly, the benefits of hiding it in the first place outweighs that risk, since you can always just put it on the roof if you've been raided later. By hiding away the power inside of the walls and inside of the honeycomb more specifically, we run into a lot less likelihood that somebody ever destroys our power generation, which can be great whether we're using it to power lights or even turrets. Coming inside, I like to bring that first E branch into my TC room. By bringing it over here, it's a lot less likely that someone's going to get to it, or if they did, I probably don't care as much. Once that's done, we can actually go ahead and put half walls here and close this up. Placing the full walls on top, we can then close in the rest of our honeycomb. Now, one important thing is whether or not you place this battery here, do not place a half wall in that spot. If you place a half wall in that spot, you won't be able to use the roof bunker as I've shown you it working. Now simply do the same on all of your sides, closing in all of your honeycomb. Now coming up to the roof here, when you're doing your second layer of honeycomb, you're pancaking up here, one important thing is you want to make sure you do not fill in this spot right here. While putting in the half walls in here is perfectly fine and okay for your honeycombing, if you actually place a half wall right here, it'll break the bunker. As you can see, you saw that bunker immediately change when I placed that wall. For that reason, you can't place anything in this slot. That includes wall frames, double doors, or any other thing you might want to utilize there. But it's not really that big of a deal because if someone raids up through here, they would still have to raid down through this metal. Coming down here, we've almost completed the base. With a nice, very secure bunker area, missing just a couple things in here, we need to finish up the outside of the base. The next thing we're handling is our loot drop room. Right here, we're going to create ourselves a nice little airlock, but it's this room here that I want to focus on. Adding in half walls here, we're then going to place full walls here, and a half wall above here. Now, while you are going to want to slap a door on here, I don't recommend sealing this because it's a lot easier to handle all of your box placement with that roof open. Coming over here, first we're going to place a ramp. And placing a ramp here makes it a lot harder for a raider raiding from the outside in to get through into your loot. With that first ramp placed, we're going to place a temporary half wall and then destroy that half wall. And then we're going to place another ramp on top of this. Now, placing your boxes in here can be quite difficult. If you place them correctly, you'll be able to place a large box, a small box, and another large box in this spot. Now, that can be quite difficult, and it might just be a lot easier for most people to just do the two large boxes, because you do need them placed far enough back that you could still place a wall in front. Now, these boxes, whether or not you place with the middle box, should be opening towards the center. That's because if you've got teammates joining you later, you want them to be able to auth on these boxes. Now, the reason I recommend that we lock these boxes is because they operate so close to the front door. While you can add yourself an additional airlock, I don't really think it's important as long as you lock up these boxes. Because in front of these boxes, we are going to place a window. But before we do that, we do need to get up to the roof here because we're not quite done. Here, we're going to place a temporary floor and an actual floor here. Upgrade that to stone. And here we're going to place our repair bench. This repair bench is an incredibly essential part of the base, and I love having it so close to the front door. This means if I just need to repair a tool very quickly or change a kit color, I can do so without having to worry too much. Finally, go ahead and close this in here, upgrade that, and do the same here. And coming here, we're going to add a window frame which we can lock up whenever we need to and easily access everything here. Now, some people might be wondering why we've gone as tall as we have here, and it's because of the ability to place these traps as well as the amazing options up here. These traps are going to make it a lot harder for anybody trying to raid us to have a smooth time of it. Doing it like this, basically all of our doorways are going to be trapped, and you can do it as you get more gears. Now, the reason for this extra double door that we've got here is, well, we want to get rid of that. Instead, coming back with a vending machine. Not to sell to other players, but to help us loot transfer. One of the most useful things with a vending machine isn't selling things to people, but rather selling things to yourself. Using a vending machine, we can sell anything for anything. And in some instances, that's selling scrap for scrap. If we have it set that we can sell 1 scrap for 100 scrap, you would be able to go and order from Outpost. You would be able to farm up a bunch of materials while out roaming and go and send that right back home. Clicking on your vending machine and buying 1 scrap for the 100 scrap that you have on you, it would only cost you the 20 delivery fee. Now, depending on how much you're sending or what you might be sending, this can be incredibly useful. Whether it's transferring guns, loot, or other resources back home, this is an incredibly effective method. With the option to have your entire base lit up thanks to this hidden electrical system, we actually have one more defensive benefit. Being able to slap a turret down right here. This means that if somebody is coming through one of the raid paths that's not directly behind the TC, they then have to contend with a turret. Depending on what you set up in there, it might not be worth the trouble. This base design was shown to me by a friend. He calls it Solitude, and I think that name is perfect for what this base is, as this base is the perfect base for a solo player who doesn't want to leave their base too much. Now, while that might sound like a bad thing, the utility of it is absolutely amazing, having everything you could possibly need in the base. If you would also like to show me your own personal base designs and have it featured in a video, hit me up by joining in the Discord. There you can show me your best base designs, and hopefully we can get it featured in. Now, one weakness that this base might have is people might be worried about soft siding through these walls here. Now, if you are worried about somebody soft siding through these walls here, it's recommended that you turn them around. Now, one way of doing that is when you upgrade them from stone to metal, you would be able to turn them around very easily, as it does refresh the timer for rotating walls. Thanks again to Pine Hosting for sponsoring this video, and if you want to support the channel or check them out, make sure you click that link down below in the description or in the pinned comments. Until next time, enjoy your wipe and peace out.